to the Art of Embodying. I am recording a little video today from Oslo, from Norway, where I'm currently at, and I will talk about the energy fields or the energy centers in this video. And what I will do, I actually wrote them down and all of the things, so if you see me glancing down, this is because I actually came prepared. But what I will do is I will go over every single center and what they stand for, and then what it means to have it defined or undefined. And then I add a little question at the end that you can ask yourself for each of the defined or undefined energy centers. If you don't know if your energy center is defined or undefined, you should go, before you watch this video, online and just get a human design chart up. I normally use myhumandesign.com, which is free. You just need to put your birth time, birth date, and birthplace in it, and you get the chart. And defined centers are the ones that are colored in, and undefined centers are the ones that are white. You can also refer to them as open or closed. And before we start, just to say one more time, if any of these don't resonate with you, that means that there are probably other aspects towards it. So if you want to invest in a full human design reading where kind of like all the different aspects get drawn together and actually make a full picture, then you can book a reading on my website, www.penelope-klammert.com. And again, this is a blueprint, so how you live it out is completely up to you. This is not something that is saying this is exactly how you are. This is the possibility, and this is what it stands for, and how you live it out is completely up to you. So let's get started. If you have your chart in front of you, or if you memorized it, we start at the bottom energy center, which is the root center. So the root center is a motor center. So it is the center that kind of is responsible for your drive, for taking actions, for doing things. And obviously the root bottom also kind of like the steadiness and the groundedness in life and how you take those actions. If you have a defined root center, you do have kind of a steady pulse of moving in life. So you're like kind of constantly very eager to take action. And you are also very good in dealing with stress and pressure. So a lot of people who have a defined root are less likely to kind of run around like headless chickens, and have kind of their own strategies in how to rely on pressure. The question for the defined root center is, am I constantly trying to motivate others to take action? Leave this one with you. All of the questions are neither wrong or right or good or bad. It's just a question to spark something in you. If the root center is undefined, you are very likely to amplify the stress and the pressure around you. So that means you don't kind of have a steady connection towards that, how to handle stress and pressure, and you're easily to take it in. So because the centers that are empty are most likely to amplify and take in other energies. So amplifying other stress and pressure, and kind of what a good thing is for the undefined root center is learning which is yours and which is others, and also kind of dealing with the ebb and flow of the kind of like let's go take action energy. So if you sometimes feel like you're lacking that energy, that might be because you have an undefined root center. The question for the undefined root is, am I in a hurry to get things done to get rid of the pressure? All right, one further up, we're going to the solar plexus. The solar plexus is actually it's not one further up, it's, if you see it on the human design chart, it's one up and then to the right. Solar plexus are your emotions and your awareness. So this is where all the emotions sit. If you have a defined solar plexus center, you do have access to your emotions, and you are most likely riding a lot of emotional waves on a day-to-day basis. What is quite important, if it is defined, is that you don't make decisions in those emotional waves. You kind of wait until it calms down a little bit and then make decisions based on that. And Normally, these people always feel something, and they can also name the feeling and the emotions that they're feeling. The question for the defined solar plexus is, am I making decisions based on my emotions? Undefined solar plexus is normally people who find it quite hard to label their emotions or say exactly what they're feeling. And they can also a lot of times kind of avoid confrontation or avoid drama and don't really want to make any conflicts, and yeah, kind of are a bit like and they also feed off the emotional people in our world, because again, open center, we take in the energy of others. So if you yourself are maybe a little bit less emotional and you hang out with emotional people that can really bring out the emotional side in you, which can be quite beautiful, especially because emotional people who have a defined kind of view the world in loads of colors, and the non-emotional people really feel of that, and so they get a taste of that, which is quite nice. The question for the undefined solar plexus is, where am I avoiding confrontation and truth? All right, now we are going one further up of the root. So literally the center right over the root center is the sacral center, which is the life force. So it's a motor center, and also your sexuality lies there. If your sacral is defined, that means that your energy type is a generator or manifesting generator, which means you have consistent access to your energy, and you have a lot of power and life energy that really influences other people around you. And that energy gets charged by excitement and doing things that bring you joy, and gets a little bit lessened by doing things where you feel like you need to compromise. So the question for the defined sacral is, where am I compromising too much, holding back my energy as a result? The undefined sacral, the energy comes more in bursts. Again, you can get amplified energy by, if you have a generator around you and they have a lot of energy, so you feed off that energy and you're like, oh my god, I also have that much energy, and then as soon as that person leaves, you're like, oh my god, I'm so tired and I need to rest. So the energy comes in waves, comes in bursts, and it's not sustainable, so you cannot sustain the consistent energy throughout the whole time, and it's really important to learn when to recharge. If you don't really know when to recharge, and if you kind of want to run with all the generators and manifested generators around you all the time, it can lead to burnouts, and also a little bit loss of kind of like the body connection, because you're going much against your nature. So the question for the undefined sacral is, do I know when enough is enough? Okay. Now we're going from the sacral to the left, which is the spleen. The spleen is your intuition and your immune system, and it's an awareness center. Having a defined spleen means that you have consistent access to your instinct, intuition, and fears. You know clearly what is good for you and what is not good for you. Fear and intuition sometimes can be a little bit mixed up, but a good way to separate them is fear comes with adrenaline, so it's a little bit more energy. Intuition is quite a calm, silence energy. So these people have a consistent access to their intuition and should also follow that intuition. A question for the defined spleen is, am I questioning my intuition and let my brain take decisions? Meaning you're not listening to your intuition and you still make choices from your brain. The undefined spleen, again, open, takes in the energy of the defined spleen ones around you, so it can really amplify the fears and worries of the people around you, meaning that it's a bit hard to know if you're actually worrying because you're worried about it and this is your fear, or your maybe trauma or past fear, or if it's actually someone else's. You can also sometimes get a false sense of security around people with a defined spleen. So again, when you hang out with those people, you feed off their defined spleen, so you feel very much drawn to them because they give you a sense of safety, and as soon as they're gone, your spleen is empty again, so that feeling goes. So being aware of that is also quite important. And also what is good with all the open centers actually is that throughout your life, because they're open and because you're constantly learning through it and because you're constantly getting so many different energies through that center, that you actually get quite strong and good in them. So even if your spleen is open and you feel like you don't have that consistent energy and access to your intuition, that can change over a period of time, and you can get really, really good awareness because it was open and because you had to learn so much about it. And in general, just to say that the closed centers, the defined centers, are the ones that we share with the world. These are quite normal to us. We don't really feel them that intensely because we're used to it. This is how we feel, and we share them with the environment around us. And then the undefined centers are the ones where we learn the most, but they again can come out as quite strong at the end of the life, or like throughout your lifetime, because you're constantly learning with them. So the undefined ones are the ones where we learn and grow and constantly assess, and the defined ones are the ones that we share. So yeah, that was the undefined spleen. And the question to the undefined spleen is, am I living in other people's spheres? So again, relating to what I just said. We come now a little bit further up over the sacral center, which is the G center, which is the sense of self and love and self-worth, and also direction in life. If you have a defined G center, that kind of represents that you have a kind of a reliable sense of yourself and who you are and where you want to go and kind of like what your purpose is. And maybe you don't like know it in detail, but you kind of have a clear direction. Often also people who have like geographically a good sense in the geographic world as well, so a good sense of direction in general. And really connecting to that center, to that knowing, can really help people with an undefined G center to find their way as well. Again, sharing from the defined center. The question for the G center is, am I trusting myself that I know my direction and purpose? So again, the brain can sneak in sometimes and tell you that you don't know it, but if you do have that defined G center, you can really trust on that. Undefined G center, you're meant to be fluid and step in and out of roles. So don't worry if you feel like my sense of identity shifts, I don't really know, my direction is not that clear. That is who you should be. You're also called a shapeshifter. And what is really important is your environment and the people around you, because they will influence how you feel and how your sense of self feels. And you can embody different identities all the time in your life, which is quite fun. So again, just because this world kind of tells everybody you need to be unique and know who you are and stand by it, no, you don't. How beautiful is it that you can shift your identity and be whoever you want to be in every moment. Question for the undefined center is, am I looking for direction and love? Let that sit with you again. Then we're coming to the ego and heart center, which is the small one on the right side of the G center. And this represents the willpower, ego, and motivation, and is also a motor center. The defined ego is very much you're in control of your life, you're kind of in control of your work, you're in control of how you spend your money. You like things, like you like material things. You have desires that are kind of like more for the ego, and that is okay. So healthy to follow the ego desires, don't like shut them away. And you have consistent access to your will, and you can really, like, if you hone into that, you can really move mountains with it. So it's quite powerful. You can also be quite competitive, and again, if you are super competitive, that will amplify the people around you with an open ego to be even more competitive, and it can kind of create a little bit of a maybe not so healthy environment. So the question for the defined ego is, am I competing with myself or with others? The undefined ego is, can I see what value I have? No, what did I write down? Wow. This sentence that I wrote down has so many spelling mistakes that I genuinely don't know what I wrote. But the undefined ego or heart center are very open-hearted people and very compassionate people and very understanding people. But again, should keep space in that center to release this pressure to compete. If you have an open ego center, don't try and compete with the people around you. It doesn't matter if they have a closed or an open center. If you're looking on Instagram, if you're trying to compare, this is literally draining that energy center so much. So especially if you have an undefined ego, comparing will never do you good. Do not compare yourself with other people. Question for the undefined ego center is, am I trying to prove something to people? Okay, so we have 3 centers left. We're coming to the throat. The throat center is expressions and communication. So the defined throat center is speaking from a fixed way and from a connected center. So when you speak, you really know when to talk, first of all, and also people listen to you, and you're very good at influencing people with your words. So these are people that are, I think we all know these people. They talk and you're just like, yeah, that's like, whatever they say, you're just like, that makes sense, like that sounds correct. Ooh, well, and it really influences you. So the question for the defined throat center is, am I aware of the consequences of my words? The undefined throat center makes me laugh a bit because I have an undefined throat and I can so see myself in this, is kind of the pressure to talk and share. So you kind of have this like, I want to say something, and then you like talk a lot and then everything comes out, and then afterwards you don't really remember what you talked about. You often don't really know when to share or what to say. You're trying to attract attention through your voice and through what you're saying, and you really need to kind of learn when is the right time to speak, and when the opposite side also invites you to speak, rather than you just feeling like you need to speak and share all the time. So the question for the undefined throat is, am I trying to attract attention? The ajna. The ajna is where your ideas and the problem solving lies. It's an awareness center. A defined ajna is kind of has a constant access to conceptualizing and kind of like processing solutions and ways and connections between things, thoughts, concepts. You're really able to like ground down ideas and make sense of them. So whatever kind of comes through the crown, which we get to in a second, you're very very good at conceptualizing it and bringing it into some sort of structure and into some sort of form. And it doesn't matter if that's like logic ideas or abstract ideas, they make sense. And you're also not that easily influenced by other people because you have that fixed sense of like, that makes sense, that is the structure, putting it together, solving problems. So the question for the defined ajna is, how can I stay confident in my understanding while being open to new ideas without feeling the need to persuade others? The undefined ajna kind of has a constant need to figure out stuff, but it doesn't come as easy because they can see multiple perceptions at once. So maybe if you have a project or an opinion, you can see it from every angle. It's kind of like, when you have something and you shine the light on it and you can understand it from every single angle. So you are very open to it and very much like, yeah, but this could work, but this could also work, and then what about this? Which is very nice because you're open to, again, seeing all of the options that could be taken. And yeah, the open ajna, so the question for the open ajna is, am I trying to convince everyone that I'm certain? So again, if you are able to kind of see everything from all the different sides, but then trying to like, no, but I'm so sure of this, and like I'm aware of this, and without really sitting in, you obviously can have strong opinions, but leaving space for all the other options that you also see in your mind, and not being like, okay, this is 100% the best way to solve this problem. Not saying that you can't have your fixed opinions, but having that fluidity, because the center is open, will always enhance that energy and make your life easier. Coming to the last center, which is the crown, which is your inspiration and your spirituality, and it's a pressure center again. The defined crown is kind of having access to like the constant fixed and reliable way of thinking, consistent mental pressure to ask and answer and understand things. So it's like a very quick mind. And there's also a lot of thoughts always in your mind, so a lot of pondering on different thoughts going on at the same time, which doesn't mean that you need to have the answers on all of these thoughts. So sometimes it's also okay to just let all of these ponder around, and the answers will come in time. So the answers for my closed crown people don't need to come in the second, and people can get quite what is it called, when you can't wait for something. I forgot the English word now. So the question for the defined crown is, how can I balance my urge to find answers with being open to other ways of thinking? Can I be without knowing the answers to everything? So again, you don't need to know the answers to everything. Patience, that is what I wanted to say. Have patience. Your mind will solve it. You have a very sharp mind that will figure it out. And for my undefined crown people, very open-minded, constantly inspired from all the directions. You really amplify ideas and thoughts from other people. But again, because you don't have that kind of like fixed sense of all of your thoughts, honing into that energy center and kind of thinking about which thoughts are useful in the moment and which can go and be dealt with later is very useful. Otherwise, can get a bit wild. Question for the undefined crown centers: am I trying to answer everybody else's questions? So these were all the energy centers. There are probably gonna be videos soon where I go deeper into how undefined and defined relate with each other in the world, and also kind of connected to the energy types. But this for now is just the energy centers, undefined, undefined, and the little question that you can ask yourself. I hope you enjoyed this. There is gonna be more coming soon. If you have any special requests, I'm always open to hear. Again, if anything doesn't resonate with you, please book a reading with me and we can have a look at it. And otherwise, I hope I see you soon, and let's connect and let's create and let's build. Bye.